Hello everyone, welcome back to another exciting video of Lights Out Cinema. Today's video will be about a very interesting thriller and mystery movie entitled Escape Room, which was released in 2019. The movie tells a story about a group of people who are forced to find a way to survive by solving puzzles in an escape room game. Well then, without further ado, let's get started. The movie starts with a scene of a home library when someone falls into the room from the ceiling. The man frantically goes to the big library door where there is a puzzle that he needs to solve in order to open it. Suddenly, the walls start moving, making the room smaller with time. The man panics and looks for clues to solve the door puzzle. He finds the clue for the code combination from the pictures above the fireplace and goes to solve the puzzle. Unfortunately, when he puts in the code, the door would not open. We see him scream as he gets crushed by the walls. We move on to a classroom in a university. A professor is explaining a quantum physics theory called the quantum Zeno effect. We see a student, Zoe Davis, wanting to answer what the theory is but is too shy to raise her hand. After class, the professor talks to her saying that he knows Zoe wants to answer but is too afraid. He suggests that she does one thing that scares her over the Thanksgiving break. The next character to be introduced is Jason Walker, who is a business consultant working in a big office. He takes a call from a client while telling his assistant to watch Karate Kid. Then we move on to a guy who's working in the back of a grocery store. His name is Ben Miller. He asks his boss if he can work as a cashier, but the boss doesn't agree. The movie then shows us that all three of them receives a mysterious black box. Zoe gets it from her professor, Jason gets it as a gift from his client, and Ben gets it from his boss. It looks like just an unopenable cube at first, but it is apparently a puzzle. We see a montage of the trio trying to figure out the puzzle, each with their own methods. Finally, they receive a piece of paper saying that it is an entry voucher to an escape room called Minos, where the first person to escape its hardest room will win $10,000. We see Ben smoking in a parking lot of a building when a girl named Amanda Harper asks him if that's the Minos building. She goes in asking the security officer where the escape room is located. He asks for her ID and confiscates her phone before telling her to go to the third floor. In the lift, a nerdy guy named Danny Con comes in right before the door closes. Amanda comes into the waiting room, knocks on a door before a woman's voice tells her to sit and wait in the room like the others. A guy introduces himself to Amanda as Mike Nolan. We see that Jason and Zoe are already waiting there. Ben finally comes in the room and joins the group. They start talking about the Minos room and how they end up going to try it. Apparently, this room is rated as one of the best escape rooms in the country, and it must be very difficult because nobody has been able to pass it yet, and there's a $10,000 prize for the first one who finishes. Danny explains that they're waiting for the game's master to explain the room's story and take them to the room. Ben wants to go have a cigarette outside, but when he tries to open the door, the handle comes off, trapping them in the waiting room. When the others worry, Danny thinks that the waiting room itself is the escape room. He inspects the door and sees an oven-like dial where the door handle used to be. He thinks it's a combination lock, tells the others to start looking for clues for the lock's combination. Mike finds a screwdriver inside a book while Amanda finds that the magazines are all addressed to the same person named Dr. Wooten Yu, and they think it might be a clue. But Zoe sees the book Fahrenheit 451 and inputs the number into the lock. It works and something happens. The ceiling of the room starts turning red and heating up, just like in an oven. Amanda tells Zoe to turn the dial off, but when they try it, the dial is stuck and would not move. They panic and knocks on where they thought an employee was standing by, but they got the same response over and over again. Jason finds that the window to the employee's room is locked, so Danny urges them to find the key. Instead of that, Ben wants to figure it out with force and takes a fire extinguisher off the wall, but they discover it's fake and is made of plastic. Suddenly, the pillars of the room starts lighting up and emitting heat as well. They panic as the room gets warmer, not sure what is happening. Zoe finds the key on one of the pillars' base and they open the window, only to find that there is a mannequin holding a landline phone. Suddenly, the phone rings, and when Jason picks it up, he hears a recording from Minos saying that they should follow the posted rules. When he hangs up the phone, more walls start to light up, heat up, the windows start closing and a huge fan shows up. The room is starting to look exactly like an oven. Amanda gets a panic attack and Zoe tries to calm her down, getting some water to cool her down. Zoe sees a sign on the wall saying that Dr. Wooten encouraged using the coasters. Zoe presses one of the 6 coasters and sure enough, a part of the wall opens up to reveal a vent. It's not big enough to fit a person, so they press down on all the coasters. Now that it's wide enough, they decide that Jason should come in the vent and find a way out. He finds it and tells Mike to bring the screwdriver he found earlier. Mike comes in and gives Jason the screwdriver to open the vent to another room. Amanda goes into the vent next. They struggle to keep pressing the coasters. Ben and Danny put their hands and foot on the other coasters while Zoe gets a full glass of water to push on the coaster. They hear Amanda panicking inside the vent because of her flashback from a war, so Zoe decides to calm her down. Meanwhile, the guys get more glasses for the coasters. The guys argue because there's not enough water when suddenly fire starts coming out from the ceiling. They manage to use the alcohol Ben brought in his flask and escapes into the next room right before the fire blows out of the vent. Amanda panics and wants to get out of the game, but Danny says that it's not real and it's just part of the game. Meanwhile, Jason finds a key to one of the door's locks and says they need a 7-letter word to open the other lock. They figure out that the word is Rudolph and opens the door. It leads to an outdoor area full of snow. Danny goes to explore, but after a bit of walking, he hits a wall that is projecting the scenery. The rest of them warns Danny to be careful so he doesn't break the ice under him, but he says that it's also fake. Suddenly, air vents open up from the walls, blasting cold air to the room, making it even colder. They then immediately start looking for clues. Jason finds a locked door on one of the walls. Zoe finds a sign that says True North is a lie, while Amanda finds a chest with only 1 coat inside. Amanda figures that the game's master want them to fight over the 1 coat, so she decides that they should instead share it, and gives the first turn to Zoe. Inside the coat, Zoe finds a compass and she uses it to find the True North, which is actually a bear replica. She remembers the sign and puts her hand inside of the bear's mouth to retrieve a strong magnet. In another part of the room, Mike finds a wolf replica that's looking upwards at something that is stuck on a tree branch. While Mike climbs the tree to try to take the object, Ben's leg suddenly crashed inside the ice, revealing a perfectly round hole that looks like a hole to do ice fishing. Fortunately, Mike was able to retrieve the object, and it's apparently a fishing rod. Jason lowers the fishing line to the bottom of the frozen lake. They find out that it is really deep. After waiting a while, nothing happens, but then Zoe comes to them with the magnet and they hook it up to the fishing line. They manage to retrieve something heavy from the bottom. It is apparently a cube made of ice with a key stuck in it. They have an idea to use Ben's lighter to melt the ice, so he throws it on the ground. Danny comes to pick it up, but suddenly an explosion happens and Danny falls into the frozen lake. He gets trapped under the ice. The others are frantically trying to get him out. Unfortunately, it is too late. Danny drowns and dies. Jason says that Amanda was right. Everything they are facing in this escape room is real. They decide to use their body heat to slowly melt the ice cubes since they don't have a lighter anymore. After long hours in the cold, they finally have the key. When they try to unlock the door, apparently the actual door is on the other side of the room. As they run to escape, bombs start to blow up the ice and they barely make it in time. We see that this next room is themed like a pool bar, but as the camera zooms out, it seems that the room is actually upside down. The phone that is stuck upside down from the ceiling rings. The phone handle falls down and Mike answers it before a loud sound comes out from the phone. Right after, a piece of the floor falls away, revealing that they're very high up in a huge elevator shaft. The group gets off the floor, climbing and holding onto anything they can. Jason finds a door without a knob, and Amanda climbs up to the bar to look for clues and finds a locked safe box. Zoe realizes there is a big sliding puzzle on the wall across the room, so she carefully goes there, followed by Mike and Ben. When trying to solve the puzzle, another loud sound comes out from the hanging phone and another piece of the floor falls off. Zoe finally solves the puzzle and the group connects the result to the numbers of the pool balls. Amanda tries out the combination, but it doesn't work. Meanwhile, another floor piece falls off. This time, the top screws of the rack that Zoe, Ben, and Jason are holding onto also fall off, making them hang vertically. Jason tells Mike to move to the rack beside him, but he can't, so Zoe says she'll move instead. While trying to reach for Jason's hand, though, he falls and hits the floor. This causes her to have a flashback of an accident with her mom, where she is lying upside down just like in the room. Jason comes down to help Zoe wake up and move to safety, and Zoe tells Amanda to try the combination backwards since the room is also backwards. It works and Amanda gets the doorknob in the shape of an 8-ball. She needs to take it to the other side of the room with no more floor underneath. Amanda climbs the pool table to try to get across, but the doorknob falls to the one remaining floor piece. She decides to drop down and get it before it falls, throwing it to Jason, and holds onto the phone line when the last floor panel falls. They try to save her with a pool cue. Unfortunately, she cannot hold on and falls to her death. While Jason opens the door and moves on to the next room, Zoe cries out and gets more frustrated about the group members' deaths. The next room is revealed to be a warehouse with several hospital beds. Apparently, those beds are made exactly like the beds that each group member had when they had some kind of accident. It's so accurate down to every detail, it even has files on what happened to each member. Zoe finds Amanda's file, reading that she was injured due to an IED blast. Then she tells them about her story. She was in a plane crash in a jungle, Vietnam, where she is the sole survivor. Next, Jason says that he was out sailing with his friend when the boat got flipped and he had to survive from hypothermia. Ben was out drinking with his friends when he drove them, but got in a car accident that killed everyone except himself. Meanwhile, Mike was doing a mining job with his brother and others when the mine caved in and pinned them with debris and rock. Zoe reads Danny's file. He was in a carbon monoxide poisoning in his house. They now realize that they are all the sole survivors of accidents, and now the game's master wants to see who will be the survivor among the survivors. Suddenly, a video starts playing that gives them 5 minutes to escape. While the others panic and look for clues, Zoe wants to stop playing by the game's rules. Ben says they are always watching them through the cameras, so Zoe remembers the quantum Zeno theory. They will only be able to change if they are not watched. She starts smashing all the cameras in the room while the guys figure out that they need an EKG machine. Jason thinks that they need high heart rate to pass. Ben tries but fails, and next is Mike. When Mike also fails, Jason convinces him to get shocked by a defibrillator, but then Mike dies because of it. Time runs out and gas starts to be released into the room. Jason figures that it must be a low heart rate instead and manages to open the way out. Ben shouts at Zoe to come with them, but she refuses, saying this room is the way out. We see her pass out on the floor. In the next room, Jason and Ben are arguing. Ben can't believe that Jason just kills Mike, and implies that Jason most likely also killed his friend on the boat accident. It turns out Ben is right, and the two of them fight in the weird-looking room. When they stop fighting, Jason finds a hatch on the floor. They open the hatch, but they got something on their hands and starts hallucinating. The note under the hatch says they need to find the antidote to survive. Ben finds the antidote and they start to fight over it until Ben knocks Jason's head on the wall and that kills him. Meanwhile, in the previous room, we see the cleanup crew come in, laughing at an oxygen mask that is hanging from the wall when Zoe appears behind them and hits them until they pass out, and then taking their gun. She gets out from a hidden door in the room. Ben goes down the hatch, and it turns out that he is the guy that we see trying to escape in the first scene of the movie. Apparently, when we think he is being crushed to death, he manages to crawl and take shelter from the walls inside of the fireplace. He escapes the room and arrives to a big open room. We then finally meet the game's master, who congratulates Ben on his victory. He explains to Ben that their clients, who are powerful people in the world, like to watch people fight for their lives and bet on their survival, just like in sport. When Ben asks if he can go home, the game's master instead chokes him with a cord. Fortunately, Ben still has the wood spike that pierced his leg and uses it to stab the game's master. We see the computer in the room being overridden, now showing the game's master and Zoe as active players in the game. Zoe comes in with a gun and shoots the game's master, who then hides. She tries to wake Ben up while looking for the game's master when she was suddenly tackled and pinned down. Ben then comes in and hits the game's master's head with a glass bottle that shoots him dead. Zoe and Ben goes out of the building and Ben gets treated in a hospital. The police comes to their room and asks if Zoe can explain what happened. When they arrive at the Minos building, everything is now gone and there is no trace of the escape rooms. The police dismisses her report and leaves. We jump to 6 months later. Zoe and Ben are having a nice lunch in the city. After catching up, Zoe tells Ben that she found the coordinates to a possible hiding place of Minos in New York and that she already bought the tickets. Ben initially hesitates but then agrees to come. Meanwhile, we see that there is a plane crash that looks like an escape room with clues, but when they crash into a mountain, it's actually all fake and they end the simulation. Apparently, they are testing the next escape room that is meant to happen in the airplane that Zoe and Ben will fly to New York in, implying that they are still in the game. That is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to smash the like button and also subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Also tell us in the comments section what movies we should recap next. Until next time, see ya.